Welcome to the Good Karma Sport Fishing Podcast. I'm your host, Captain Ryan Van Fleet. Happy Labor Day, everybody. So hope everybody has had a great Labor Day and they were able to hang out with their family and friends. Down here, it looked like it was extremely busy. So typically when there's a holiday weekend anymore, I don't schedule charters. I take a break. So it's just too many people on the water when it's nice. But the weather was kicked up this weekend, so I was lucky because I probably wouldn't have been able to fish anyways because it was just kind of ugly out there. So, but it sounds like the guys that did get out, they did pretty good. So there's lots of dolphin out there. I'm going to probably put out a fishing report tomorrow on the app, and then I'll put out another one. Like I said, I'm doing those a couple times a week, but my biggest thing is now that we're getting away from the moon. I had talked about how important live bait was. Now we're getting away from the moon. And looking at my logbooks from last year, once we got away from this moon, the fish started getting hungry again, and white squid, did the trick, and small ballyhoos, it doesn't matter. Mostly, I think the guys make the mistakes and they start cutting up the ballyhoos. So, guys, I want to let you in on something. You don't need to cut all that stuff up and chunk those fish. What happens when you start chunking, you start filling those fish up in the heat. So I tell people, hey, the best thing to do, especially if you're going out looking for nice fish, is to use like small ballyhoos, medium-sized ballyhoos. You hook them up to the jaw, up to the, and then use circle hooks. You throw the bait way out there away from the schoolies, and you start ripping it across the surface. And then that's where your big ones are going to bet. They'll find that ballyhoo. So, but last year on this, as we got away from this moon, the fish started eating white squid. They were like ferocious over it. So, and it's just a hell of a lot easier to catch dolphin on dead bait than it is live bait. I would prefer not to use live bait because they knock the bait off. It's a pain in the ass to throw a bait at a fish and the bait comes ripping off, especially pilchards. So I would, for me this week, I think I'm gonna really start using. I'm gonna have some live bait, but I'm gonna really try to focus on just using dead bait. And so especially ballyhoo. Like I said, you got to make a long cast away from the school, and you got to rip it across the surface. And that's when you guys really want to get that Halco Laser Pro popper. That thing is like phenomenal as far as a popper goes. So, like I've said in my previous videos, the best thing you can do is you have a guy and you're basically firing up the fish, and you have a guy come behind you and then throw the dead bait behind the fish. So it's kind of like a bait and switch thing. It works very well to get fish fired up. Again, that's the Halco Laser Pro popper. I've got a link in my store. You can buy that in my store. I love the Halco products. So they're better than Nomad. I'm sorry, I'm going to piss off a few guys, but Halco's been around a lot longer. They're proven. They catch a lot more fish. They don't pull as hard, and best of all, they're less money, and they catch more fish. So now the only Nomad that I own is that Mascad, and I have to tell you I like it, okay, because it pulls like a Halco, and it's a lot lighter, so I can run it off my planer and downrigger setup that I have. So I run a lot of my baits off, I run a lot of deep divers off my planer, okay? So I do that. There's a special rig that I use, and it works very well. And the Halcos pull really well on your planers because they don't tend to trip it. So what happens is you can, so you set out your Halco, and the 190 works very well for running off your planer setups. It doesn't pull hard. It doesn't trip it. And it's a lighter bait. So you just have to play with how far back you let the bait. So obviously the further back you put it, the more it's going to pull because there's more drag. So that's something you have to think about. So you have to find that magic spot with that. So awesome bait. Put it down deep on your planer. You can try, a lot of guys are running, I've got a lot of guys switched over to running the Halco Laser Pros, especially that bait fish color on your planer. And when you do that, watch what happens, man. Try it sometime, okay? And if you don't try it, you're missing out. what you do is you run the Halco Laser Pro 190 baitfish pattern, and you put it out on your planer. I don't give a shit if you're doing it inline or you're running it poor man's on a poor man's planer. I do not care. That thing produces. Now, if you can't get it down deep, you need to peg it off your short corner. And I pegged mine with a rubber band. Now, the Halco Laser Pro 190 does skip a little bit, and you gotta like pick your days when you're running that because it doesn't run the best in heavy seas. So that's where I'm going to be switching to that Mascat. I think that's the name of it for Nomad. Now, the reason why I'm switching, like going to try that one out, is that my buddy Bennett, he did very well on that last year. And I'm hearing that a lot of guys are catching a lot of wahoo on that Mascat more than the Nomad deep diver. It just pulls better. It sinks, and it has better action, okay? And it looks more like a bait fish, too. So the profile is really nice. And like I said, it pulls more like a Halco. So I'm just saying. Now, if you really want another really good bait to pull, and it's the Halco, I think it's the Pulvey Halco Max lures. So they have a more of a bait fish design. You can pull them really quick. They sink. They're a great lure to try. I really love those lures. I'm just like stuck. It's like anybody else. I'm just stuck on the Halco Laser Pros instead of the Maxes. But I know a lot of guys down here that do very well on those Max lures. The one that you should try is that red head with the chrome body. Yeah, that's a wicked lure with the tiger stripes on it. It just sends off a lot of flash. It has the same flash as a bait strip. So also, too, for all you grouper trolling guys, you need to start trolling the bait strips for groupers. That's all I'm going to say. I'm just going to give you a little nugget there. And if you're not, and you need to, I'm not going to tell you what sea witch to use because you'll figure it out. If you want to know what sea witch to use, then you can come into my group, into the Good Karma Sport Fishing Podcast group. Again, it's a private Facebook group. And if you want to get involved with that, it's awesome. So we're sharing a lot of stuff for anglers that respect each other and just really are, just giving back. So the information in there is fantastic on what's happening with the fishery and all that good stuff. So it's an awesome group to be part of. If you do listen to the podcast, I highly say if you've been listening to a while, it's worth joining up for Facebook. I don't like Facebook. I honestly don't, and nor do I. I'm not a big fan of all the social media channels, but it is what it is with this world. So, but in the Facebook group I got guys that are just joining up Facebook just to be part of the group. So because that's how good it is. So again, it's the Good Karma Sport Fishing Podcast Facebook group, and it's a private group. So I would highly suggest that you get involved with that if you're a podcast listener. So it's just a awesome group to be part of. So especially if you're looking for intel on what's happening in the fisheries. Now we do get some guys that contribute from the Mosquito Lagoon, what's happening with the bite there. We get guys up from Palm Beach, up to Miami, guys on the West Coast. So the group is slowly growing, which is awesome. So just saying, get part of it because you're going to really like it. Like I said, I've got family in town this weekend, but I've got one more topic I want to cover, and that's Cobia. Okay, I want to talk about Cobia because I want to start putting this in your mind. I feel a lot of guys get behind every year on this Cobia thing. So I want to start talking about this more often because I want you guys ready this year to get ahead and be out there in the Gulf when this stuff happens. So when should you start looking for Cobia in the Gulf? Okay, there is a pattern, okay? First, you need to look up and see when stone crab season starts because that's kind of an indicator for you to start getting your shit ready, okay? And once the crab pots go in out there, probably, you have to time it out, is you're going to see those big triple tails start jumping on those crab pots, okay? So that's one thing. So you got to time that out. If you really want to do it bad enough, you got to put in some work. I always hear, I missed the bite this year. He's always getting them. Well, I'm going to feed it to you. This is what you guys need to do. So, like I said, crab pots, stone crab pots, okay? And if you get lucky and you find some derelict pots out there that have been around, and those are out there, guys. Where do you think all these guys are catching these stuff on these fish on a regular basis, okay? So there's patterns of this stuff. So you just have to think about that. There's stuff out there too, okay? That Gulf is littered with stuff, littered. So I know this because I used to fish out there. So, but it's out there a long ways. So just keep that in mind. Now, when you should be looking for cobias, okay? Number one, you need to keep in touch with when the Spanish mackerel starts showing up out there, okay? When the Spanish mackerel starts showing up, you need to get ready. Usually after the first little front, you'll start seeing them. So it's like right around, I want to say last year they started showing up. It was close to Halloween. So right when the wahoo and right when the wahoo start biting. Okay, so last year the wahoo started biting in the beginning of October down here. That's when you guys should start getting ready to dust off your stuff, and you need to. And most guys, what they do is they trailer their boats to Flamingo and launch there, and then they're able to get them there. But where's a good place to fish for them? Structure. Okay, they really like structure and big holes out there. The big bomb holes that are out there. There's all sorts of stuff that's littered out there. Now, you need to they fish all the buoy lines. You need to look for them out there, and all the channel markers. The channel markers out there. It's a no-brainer. It's no secret. My favorite wind. When I fished out there, how I did it was the southeast wind fired them up. They're tide driven. You guys got to figure that out on your own. But when they show up, they show up. Okay, and you got to be ready. And I had my best luck out there with ballyhoo. So especially I'd go out and fish the channel markers. I'd throw knocker rigs on the bottom because they're not always cruising on the surface, guys. So I'd throw knocker rigs on the bottom with ballyhoo, and I'd throw them way out away from the boat, and then I'd have rods ready, rigged with ballyhoo, because ballyhoo sinks slowly, okay? If your bait sinks too quickly, you're going to miss them. Those fish just, they can't see very well, okay? So you got to be able to really, get the bait in front of them. And so I did very well with small ballyhoo out there, and it just really well, actually, when I did go fishing for them. So I just didn't go that often because it was such a hell of a ride out there, and it's so boring. And my clients were like, "What are we doing?" And when it does happen, it happens right away. So you're either going to capitalize or you're not. So the best thing to do is when you're going out is to try to get your ass there early and get set up. And because those spots are not a secret anymore, thanks to Instagram. So it's just the trick is you got to try to go to, with COVID this year, it's going to be a mess. So because everybody's off during the week. So the trick is you got to get ahead, and you got to start looking at the weather, and you got to start watching. So when you hear, and I'll let you guys know when they're starting to catch Spanish mackerel down there. And when I start telling you need to catch Spanish mackerel, you need to go. So and start looking for those cobias on your wreck spots and on the channel markers out there outside of Flamingo. So like you said, you can trailer your boat down to Marathon and launch from there and all that good stuff. And the Top Shots map, that'll tell you where to go. I mean, there's no secret on some of that spots. So you just have to try to time it, guys. Try to time it. And you launch out of Marathon, and it's easy down there. You just launch out of Marathon and run out. Now, you will get those cobia that'll move through the bridges and stuff, and you do catch them along the Channel 5. You'll catch them there, and then, down in Marathon under the 7 Mile Bridge, you get them down there as well. But if you're going to try, honestly, it's really about timing, okay? And trying to get ahead. And I think personally we're a month ahead as far as the fishery goes. I'm seeing stuff that I like. We had this super moon in September. It kind of kicked things in gear a little bit, And so who knows? I've been wrong 1,012. I mean, like, who knows? So, but if you guys, like I said, that's the type of stuff I'm going to be talking about in the app, okay? I want you guys to be successful and get in on that action. So, like I said, there's a trick to it. It's just, the trick is like being there first, okay? And yeah, the spots are hard, but I think a lot of you guys know where to go get them now. I think you guys have done your homework. So, in fact, I know. So the world's changed so much because this year is going to be different. There's going to be 10 times more people fishing for cobia this year because there's that many people not working, and it's COVID. So everybody's going to be watching. So you just have to like really kind of figure out and time things and really start to put the pieces together. I was right on it last year. I made the prediction, and everybody's like, "Yep, you're right." So, but to sum it up, I'm going to do my best to try to give you guys a heads up on what's happening with it. So, like I said, I don't cobia fish. I don't run out to the Gulf. I just don't get into it. It's just not my thing. I like to eat them, but I honestly, you know how I catch them? They usually just swim up to the back of my boat when I'm yellowtail fishing, and I give them a piece of bonito meat. So it's the truth. So that usually happens in the fall. You know, we do get some cobias on the wrecks out here. Not many off Key Largo. Isla Mirada South, they down by Channel 5, that's really good. It can be really good down there for cobias in the winter and early spring. On the fish are on rays, and I honestly don't know much about that whole thing down there. All I know is about and they catch them on kites. A lot of those fish on kites. Honest to God, I don't get into that fish. When people call me to book to go cobia fishing, I turn them away because I don't know. Everybody's got their thing, and cobia is not my thing. And when I catch them, it's by accident. So when the reason why I know about that fish is because when I used to run charters in the backcountry when I had the catamaran that I sold a few years back, that I just don't get into going back there. I think it's like, it's not my thing. I just didn't get excited. So I got out of it, and it was just not like I mentioned in a previous podcast, I like to go back there and go fishing when somebody else is driving so I can sight fish and I don't have to captain. So that's the honest to God's truth. So if I go in a Gulf this year, I'm afraid to even run out to check out any of my rec spots that I have out there because I'm like, I know that there's a million people out there now, and that because it's changed so much even from the past 3 years, so it's not even worth it. So, but yeah, it was cool. I saw my buddy posted a fishing report from Flamingo, and he did really well on red fishing from his kayak, which tells me that Flamingo's coming back. So, I mean, it's pretty cool when you're catching numerous redfish and flamingo on kayak fishing. So that means, that's awesome. So hopefully it's rebounding. I really don't keep in touch with that fishery anymore. So I'm not the guy to get a backcountry report from at all. So, but I can tell you what's happening in the Gulf as far as when to beware, because the patterns are the same when it comes to mackerel and cobias out there. So, guys, that's all I got. Sum it up today. Halco Laser Pros, better than Nomad. Sorry, Nomad fans. I think they're overhyped. But except for the mask gads, that's what I would purchase if I was a Nomad guy. I sold my Nomads in a garage sale for $2. They pull, and honestly, I think when wahoo bite, they'll bite about anything. So that's why the Nomads get bit. I'd spend my money on Halcos, and no, I am not sponsored by Halco at all. So you got to remember, Halco's been around as an Australian brand, and they've been around a lot longer than Nomad. So they are proven fish catchers. But I do recommend the mask gads. Now, the one that I know catches is in my tackle store at www.goodkarmafishingtackle.com, and you'll see the one that I recommend that I know works very well. and that's the one I own. So I might be trying a couple other ones. We'll see how it goes. Like I said, my first few weeks of, if it catches big tunas, then I know it'll catch wahoo. That's always my test on that. So the month of September for me, I do like to troll, and I like to troll for blackfins, because if I do go fishing with Melinda and I love sushi, so that's mainly what we target. I don't do a lot of dolphin fishing when I'm alone, or with Mel. We're looking for mostly tunas, and if we do catch dolphin, I give them away to the guys at the marina, because honestly, I don't care to eat them very much. When I do eat them, I love the fish tacos, so I'm addicted to that. So, but yeah, and also too, guys, the black grouper are biting. So just FYI, they restarted biting again. So go get those black groupers, guys. That's all I got. It was kind of a hodgepodge today. I've got family in town, so stay tuned this week for the fishing reports that I'll be posting. And it's the rainy season, off season for me, so I'll be charter fishing 3 to 4 days a week, and depending on the weather. So if you're looking to book a charter with me for the fall, you need to do so early, especially during the month of November and December. Actually, those are my two busiest months of the year. So as far as what I do, because I get a lot of people that come in town, for a lot of regulars that come in town for December. So if you're looking to come down, I would start booking ahead for November and December, because those are filling up, especially around those moon dates that we all want to target. That's all I got. Thanks for listening. Follow me on Instagram at goodkarma sportfishing_FL_keys. My website, goodkarmasportfishing.com. Download the app. You're gonna get some good stuff with that. And you can download it through the iTunes Store or Google Play Store. That's all I got. Thanks for listening, guys. And remember, anytime you're fishing, it's all good.